Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today I have some lovely guests with me in the studio. We've got Jamie, Ben and Anand, and I have baked for you all some delicious penis biscuits, and you're going to be decorating them, and I've invited them here to talk about masculinity and the penis. What does it represent? And I'm just going to let you guys take it away.
What's going on? What are we doing? Who are you? Who are you?
Who are me? Honestly, my name is Anand. I'm a sex doctor. I specialise in men's health and I'm a GP.
That's so good. I wish I was a sex doctor. Don't you wish you were a sex doctor?
I did work in a sex lab.
Am I the only person that's not a sex doctor? This feels a little bit unfair.
Well, you can't have everything.
Yeah, true. My name's Ben. Oh, what am I? I'm the head of facilitation and training at an organisation called Beyond Equality. So we work in schools, in universities, in corporates, engaging men and boys in gender equality conversations through the lens of masculinity. So good stuff.
No presentation, but nice.
I know, right? Elevator pitch. It's good, I've rehearsed
And you're
it.
complaining about not being a sex doctor.
Well, listen, it's always time for a career change, do you know what I mean?
I'm Jamie, I'm a transgender man. I make YouTube videos about my transition journey, breaking down transphobia and things like that. And I have a PhD in transgender wellbeing and sexual arousal.
So you are literally a sex doctor?
Yes.
What's the deal? We're decorating penises. I think this is the most contact I've had with a penis that's not my own in my whole life. Like,
Really?
This is like the most penises I've ever seen in real time.
You're straight, aren't you?
Yeah.
So, I mean, this probably is it's giving sort of locker room vibes.
Yeah.
I see willies every day as part of my job, so...
Right.
These are actually pretty good. Because of internal anatomical structures, which you really would hope would not be visible.
Hyper-realistic. I feel like, is this, correct me if I'm wrong, is this a scrotum?
It is indeed a scrotum.
Okay. What's this, an epididymis?
That's the structure that's wrapping around the testicle there.
Okay.
And then you've got the vas deferens.
Never heard some of these words.
I know, right?
I'm like, okay.
Merges with the urethra.
I'm gonna make it red. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. Why did you go for red?
I feel like in the diagrams it's always red or pink.
Well, it's pink, but that now looks like a bleeding.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go green. Shoot.
Okay, because that'll look like syphilis or gonorrhea.
Oh my, wow.
Sorry, it'll look like gonorrhea, not like
This
syphilis.
is more difficult next to a sex doctor, isn't it?
Wow. Let's say that for this, I'm going to avoid any accuracy whatsoever, because when we get to the chocolate beans and glitter, generally most willies aren't going to be covered in those.
Can you do blue over red?
You do you. You can go your Picasso or Mondrian moment. You can do what you need to.
I'm doing a scientific one first.
Maybe I should just do STDs I've known and loved.
And love.
And love.
Let's do genital warts. Let's go for that.
I have a question to start, which is, when did you first become aware of masculinity as like something to think about? Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like for me it was work, like my job. I always wonder for like the average guy, like when they first became aware of gender as an idea or as a construct.
I think it's a bit different for me because I was raised as a girl. So like I was taught very different ideas about masculinity, and it was frowned upon for me to be masculine. My parents were very open about like, yeah, you be you, but like generally it was something that I was bullied for. So it was always like this kind of negative thing. It was something that as a teenager I tried to run away from, and I had a very like bad view of it. And before I came out as trans, I was always told, oh, you're too masculine. And then I come out as trans and it's like, oh, you're too feminine. And I'm like, I can't win.
How old were you when you came out as trans, out of interest?
I was 17.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
So like, was that end of school, beginning of sixth form? Were you in school or were you like?
It was like between the 2 years of sixth form. So like I finished my first year and then I came back as Jamie my second year.
Wow,
and,
wow.
Yeah.
They like, kids have mad growth spurts over summer holidays, right? That's like the most extreme version of a growth spurt. Did you know from like earlier?
My earliest memory was when I was like 4.
Wow.
I just like, you don't know the difference. You don't understand like anatomical differences really when you're 4.
Right.
And I was like, I just think I'm one of the boys. Yeah, I'm exactly the same. And then I grew older and I was like, oh no, something's different. And then I tried to like fit in as a girl and it just didn't work. And then I figured out you could be trans and I was like, oh my God, yay.
You're like, oh, that's what I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That explains it.
Yeah.
It was a school assembly and we were doing some sort of like religious thing or cultural stuff. And I wore my mum's sari. And I think I was about 10. And I remember no one saying anything, but it just feeling a little bit off. And I thought no difference. Like, my mum's cool and I like her clothes. They're much more interesting than my dad's. My dad fits windscreens, so it's very sort of workwear. But my mum was there wearing these amazing hand-painted saris, and I thought, these are beautiful. These like so gorgeous. Why wouldn't I want to wear that? And so they're like, well, do something from your culture. And I was like, I'm not bringing in samosas. I brought in that, and so I put it on and walked into assembly with that on. And people were just like, okay, kind of, a bit odd. No one said anything, no teacher said anything, and that was just it. My dad, there was a vague memory of my dad saying, are you sure about this, to my mum? And she's like, just let him. And I didn't quite have a sense of that wasn't entirely normal, but I had a sense of there's something about this that feels a little bit edgy.
I feel like that's like, especially at the time, would have been pretty revolutionary for a parent, any parent, to like allow the kids to explore. I've finished my first one. This is a anatomically correct, clearly anatomically incorrect diagram of a penis. It's very minimalist, I feel.
Ben, I want to just say you've just drawn around the outside.
Okay, all right, no problem. We'll get started. Don't worry. No, you've done it. You've waned on it. Don't worry about it. We'll start a different one. It's fine. Let's go. Next question. No, I'm joking. It's fine.
Like, how do people act when they come in with things related to their penises? Is there like an awkwardness around it, or?
They do get very anxious about it, and you're just like, look, it's all fine. This is completely confidential. Don't worry about it. It's usually the same things. It's like, there's something on my willy. Comme ça.
I mean, have you ever seen that?
Not quite like that. I have seen sometimes where the end of the willy looks like a cauliflower because there are so many warts and things like that, and it's really uncomfortable for the person, or they've got bad herpes or something. They're in loads of pain. They're really embarrassed. There's loads of layers of stuff, and it's trying to peel them away, going, okay, let's just look at the physical for the moment. And we'll also address the psychological, because clearly it's going to have impact on your behaviour, and you'll have your cultural representations of what sexually transmitted illnesses mean. Or if they come in and they've got erectile problems, they're often like, I got sent in here by my partner because we're arguing, because we're not having sex. Or I'm worried that my penis isn't big enough, or I'm worried that I come too quickly, or I'm worried about my balls hang too low, or they don't hang low enough, or things like that, and you're kind of going, okay, let's just talk about that.
Do you tend to find that people have like put it off for a while coming
Right.
in? So like they're like, this has been a problem for a much longer time than like a typical health problem.
Yeah, no, they do, and often they come to see maybe 3 to 6 months into it, particularly things like erectile problems. They may have left it for months to years, and they come to see me and you're like, oh, I wish we'd had a chat before. Because one of the things about the willy is it's kind of use it or lose it. If you do
in real life?
Real life. So basically, those erections you have at night, the ones that kind of wake you up, so they're kind of like morning glory, morning wood that you hear about, where it kind of turn over when you're 15 or whatever, and you've got an erection, you're like, oh, that's really uncomfortable. Well, those are all penis housekeeping. That's literally your body telling your willy that you need to have some oxygen to nourish the cells, to get the nutrients in there, and then your penis deflates again. So usually it's in quite a low oxygen state, but you need those sort of hourly erections that you have throughout the nights to happen. And if, for example, you've had a bad breakup, or if you're really stressed, or if you've got a low testosterone, or if you've got other illnesses like diabetes or whatever, you may have fewer and fewer of these nighttime erections, to the point that actually your body thinks, well, what's this useless appendage? It's not doing anything. So actually it tells the cells to kill themselves. So your penis basically tells it's programmed cell suicide called apoptosis, and the cells actually kill themselves, and they get scarred and shortened as a result of it.
I can't gauge whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. Is this good or bad?
No, it's not good. It really is use it or lose it. If you're going through a difficult circumstance, even if you don't want to have sex, try and get yourself hard on once a week.
Advice I've never heard.
No, and I imagine most young men are not going to be told, do you know what? It's probably best if you just give yourself a tug at least once a week.
Because I feel like culturally that's like the opposite of every message I've ever heard, right? It feels like there's a lot of shame around penises, like a lot of like something's wrong, or I think that tends to be where people go to, right, with concerns, is like anytime a penis is doing anything, there's something to be worried about.
Well, I think a penis is often seen as a weapon. They're something that can do something to someone else.
Right.
They're designed for penetration, they're designed for fertility, they're designed for something, right? But it requires it often to go into something. It's very penetrative, isn't it? It's like not of joy of its own. If you've got a vulva, all the fun's in the front. In the womb, like we start off as as sort of the female anatomy. So we've got a vulva, and basically that then transforms. So we switch on our testosterone, maybe 2 to 3 weeks. That then bathes the bodies of those who've got XY chromosomes. Then the structure starts to change. But if the Y chromosome doesn't turn on, or they don't have the right receptors, the body will have a womb, it'll have a vulva, and it may or may not have some other structures like testicles or not, depending on how they develop or not. The skin around the vulva is basically the same stuff as the skin around the balls and on the surface of the penis. The clitoris is basically a mini knob, or we have a maxi clit, or whatever, however way we are really similar genitally. And actually there's so much fun in it, but there's also so much shame and frustration. I mean, I can't even begin to think of, your trans journey.
Well, it's actually the information of how similar we are and how we all start off the same that kind of helped me accept things as well. And like helped me in my choice of which lower surgery to go for. Because I was like, oh, well, if it kind of all starts out the same, testosterone makes things change even when you're taking it as an adult. So I got a type of surgery that just works with what's already down there.
Right.
Yeah, so it essentially creates like a micro penis type situation, but it uses the skin of the labia majora to create a scrotum.
Hold on. Sorry. It uses the skin of the labia majora.
Yeah.
You're talking about
Outer
lips.
lips.
Yeah, okay, so the outer lips,
Yeah.
and they...
I don't know like exactly.
Yeah,
like,
I'm like, tell me,
doctor. They do some things down there, they sew it together.
Right.
Ball
And-
sack.
Okay. Oh.
So I'm going to get really curious because when I go to conferences and stuff, they often have people who've had implants, but they're generally people who've had penises in the first place that then stop working, and therefore they have implants to get erections
And
again.
that's what they were designed for. So like all like the trans surgeries, like phalloplasty, which is a different type of bottom surgery.
There's different types of
Different
surgery.
types, yeah.
Okay, right.
So one type uses a graft from the arm, thigh or abdomen to create like an average sized penis. That one would then use an implant, but that surgery was designed for cis men who'd had accidents, and then they just realized they could utilize it in trans men as well. So the erectile devices are used both in trans men who've had phalloplasty and in cis men who have erectile issues. So when you have phalloplasty, you can hook the nerves up and like bury your clitoris in the phalloplasty, or you can just have it sitting behind. So some people won't necessarily get an erectile device put in. They might just want to stand to pee, have the bulge, have it as like an aesthetic thing, and they will still use their like kind of original anatomy for sex situations, so they won't bury anything. But then metoidioplasty, when you take testosterone, it causes the clitoris to enlarge a reasonable amount. Like, the average size is a couple inches, and then metoidioplasty basically cuts it from a suspensory ligament. It's all very technical, and then makes it into like...
I'm so lost, honestly. I wanted to ask you a question, right? I've been doing work around masculinities for maybe 7 or 8 years now. And I feel like one of the things that's like never on the table as a conversation, trans men's relationships with their penis, which I find so interesting, right? How much that impacts on your own feeling of masculinity. For you, was that like a non-negotiable, like I have to have one, or was it like something different? Was it just like an aesthetic thing? What was the feeling for you?
It actually took me a really long time to decide to have that surgery. I started testosterone, got top surgery, and then for ages I was like, I don't think I need anything else. It wasn't...
Shit, I've broken this dick, sorry.
That's something I would have hated to have heard when I woke
I've
up. broken this dick.
You don't want to hear a doctor go, oops, do you? At any time, no. Sorry, carry on.
In terms of like masculinity, it wasn't related to that kind of aspect of me. It wasn't related to like my expression or feeling man enough. It was more just like kind of an aesthetic thing.
Right.
It was a dysphoria related thing. I was like, I think I will be much more comfortable if this looked more like what you'd expect to see on a cis man. But I still felt like a man if I hadn't had that surgery, if that makes sense.
And when you say dysphoria, what do you mean?
It's a gender dysphoria. It's like the intense feeling related to having a assigned sex and like body that is not kind of matched up with your gender.
Right. To lessen that feeling, it made sense for you to have a bottom surgery.
Yeah, so the main thing that lessened that feeling for me was top surgery.
Right.
But yeah, bottom surgery over the years, I was like, actually I think I need this now. As there is among cis men when it comes to size, there is that same kind of attitude among a lot of trans men of like bigger is better. So even going to things like packers, which are silicone penises to create the appearance of a bulge, people when they buy one, you can get like extra small to extra large. Everybody's like, I want an extra large. I want it as big.
No one's like,
I mean,
give me
these
that
are
extra small one.
8 inches, and I'm like, get the extra small, 3.5 inches is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But there is that same kind of attitude towards bigger is better within the trans community.
Yeah.
I mean, trans mass community.
Because men are like super attached to penis size. So we do this activity at the beginning of a workshop where we draw like a box on the board and ask them to fill it with all of the expectations that society has about what men are supposed to be. And without fail, they're like massive. Yeah, I think yesterday somebody wrote colossal penis in there, which was really a really interesting choice, right? But like, I think that teenage boys in particular are super aware of that dynamic of like, bigger is better. And I guess they get it a lot of it from porn, right? Like very little acknowledgement of the fact that bigger might not always be better in terms of like, particularly in terms of sex and sexual pleasure for partners. Some people might not enjoy that. I think they kind of just remove the idea of like personal preference completely from the conversation.
It's more for them. I want to display and demonstrate. Yeah, it's a status symbol, isn't it?
Here's one I made earlier. This is a diseased.
It's quite. This one's syphilis.
Okay.
It's got a little ulcerated chancre.
That
painless,
is too
painless
realistic.
ulcer.
I don't know what this one is, but it has pubes.
Oh, I made another one with pubes.
Oh, I like that.
know,
You went with
that's
hundreds and
beautiful, isn't
thousands.
it?
That is
Yeah,
actually.
And a bit
yeah.
of gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some like highlight.
They put some sun in on their pubes. I like that. It's nice. And this one's unfortunately got warts.
Gutting.
So when you're speaking to young people about sex, are they specific tropes about, say, for example, black men or Asian men or white men or black women?
There's massive ideas right around black men having big penises. What do they call it? Is it BBC? BBC. Look at me acting like I don't know that. What do they call it? I've never. It's something like that.
You're just
no,
shy.
but yeah, I
You're
know,
just shy.
right? Yeah, massive ideas around or tropes around black men having massive penises. I think is an expectation, and really interestingly, like an expectation. I never really work with girls, teenage girls, so it's always boys, but that idea always comes up. Have you ever seen on Family Guy where they have the card that has all of the races and like which people are terrorists? And it's like the same idea of that, where it moves from like black being the biggest to then white being like average or medium and then Asian being small. And I think, those ideas are really embedded, which is an interesting one. Sometimes like part of me wonders where they get it from. Then the other part of me is like, well, obviously they get it from porn and from music and from TV and from film. Like literally everything that exists, all media streams promote that kind of idea or that imagery.
It's also from colonialism, right?
Right.
The men are hyper-masculinized, they have massive penises, and all this stuff, back in the day, with brilliant Kate Lister talks about this in History of Sex. She's talking about how the Greeks and the Romans used to think actually having a smaller willy was a sign of nobility, and having a big willy made you like some sort of crazed goat satyr creature that can't control that can't control his urges, and that's what they made all those statues with smaller willies because it's meant to be a sign of nobility and stuff, and actually that then forced non-nobility and uncivilized onto black people. And it's really offensive.
It is really offensive, and what I have found really interesting is the way that then plays out in like sexual dynamics, right? In some ways, it moves beyond penis size and into like expected sexual behaviors. I think there's this idea that certain people, because of their race, are more sexually dominant than other people, or that they'll perform in a certain way, that they'll be more physical, that they'll be more dominant, all of those kinds of ideas. I know for me, there's always been this idea of like a correct way to perform sexually when you have a penis, particularly as a black man with a penis, that you're meant to be big, strong, dominant, in control. Like, I find that idea quite sad. Do you know what I mean? Like, on one hand, it's offensive, but then on another hand, it's like just very limiting. Like, it really limits your sexual expression, because it means that you're not allowed to do maybe the things that you want to do or the things that you like to do or explore those things.
You're sold as, advertised as sort of a big dick top, and basically I'm sold as a small dick bottom. Which is, I have to be honest, the worst end of that deal. I'm not overly thrilled with that marginalisation, I'll be honest with you.
Like, black people are the fastest and they also have the biggest dick.
Yeah, just what I mean. And it's just like, oh God, exhausting. And if you have to play into those roles, it's really, really difficult when you don't fit in that, because you're going, oh, actually, do you know what? I'd rather not bottom. Can I top? And you're like going, no, that's not what I ordered. It's like, I'm not a menu. This is not McDonald's. When I was growing up, there used to be, growing up, on Gaydar, which is pre-Grinder, it would be like, no blacks, no Asians. So it's no fats, no femmes, and no Asians. You used to often see that, and you used to think, well, does that mean I don't get to choose my partner, and my partner only gets to choose me? And for a long time, it kind of taught me that sense that my ability to choose is limited to being chosen. Because
you have to appeal to other people.
Yes. And if, for example, the culture, and often gay culture, is focused around penile size, what position you do, because it's very reductive, but actually it's kind of, I get it's kind of a menu and you get to select. But, you know, if it's about penis size, what position you do, and about whether you want to do it on drugs or not, or whether you want to do it, you know, outside, or whatever the choices are, it just becomes really narrow pitched. And you can only ever go out with one type of person, and you're only sexually interesting if you are muscly, you know, or if you are very thin. The good thing about gay men growing older is that, you know, there's now, for example, the bears. You know, there is variety that's more accepted.
What's the bears? Sorry.
Bears,
You chuckled as if you knew. What are the,
As men get older and thicker,
Oh, right.
yeah, and furry, and can't be bothered to shave their chests anymore, or whatever, they kind of relabel and repackage that, so I can resell myself now to the bear community. And I'm kind of thinking, this is ridiculous that I have to spend my entire time advertising, and one of my advertising features is my dick.
like a pitch deck?
The second photograph, like it might be my face, or it might be my chest, or it might be an orifice, and you're like, I don't want to see pictures of like overstretched orifices. I mean, that might be your thing. I do not judge about that, but that's literally not my calling card or what I want from you when I'm thinking, do I actually want to go for a date with you? It's not like, do I get an echo from your nether regions?
You're trans man, also bisexual. Is there like a set of expectations that you walk into sexual encounters and feel from other people?
I struggle to answer that because I've been with my wife since we were 17.
Right.
So
Since you were 17?
yes,
How
Congratulations,
old are you
by the
now?
way.
28. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
well
you.
done.
Yeah. So like I came out as trans, and then we got together 3 months later.
Wow.
And yeah, and we've been together ever since. So I've not really had that
But
kind of
what a nice story to
dating.
have, like for the world to see, you know, because like you have to see it to believe it.
I came out thinking I'm coming out and I'm choosing to like kind of shut myself off from partners and love, because and this was the attitude I saw in the media around trans people. Who's going to want a man without a penis? I'm going to be seen as lesser than and not a real man, because that's what a lot of society boils a man down to, which is not good for any kind of man. And so as a trans man, I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm making a decision here. And then Cheryl and I got together, and yeah.
Do you have friends that, you know, that are also trans masculine? Are they fetishized in any way?
It's mostly trans women who are fetishized, and for their penis as well. Like it's kind of, everything comes down to the penis.
It's all about the penis.
It's incredible, but also devastating. Like it's seen in Pose, where Electra has bottom surgery, and this is something that like she's really been desperate for, and is going to really. And her rich sort of sugar daddy figure has been really opposed to this, and you know she finally has the surgery that makes her feel complete. And the moment she goes and tells her sugar daddy, he's like, but I'm not interested in you if you don't have a penis.
There's a lot of that happens. I think the term for people like that are chasers. So they specifically go after trans women because they are looking for a woman with a penis, and that's their fetish, that's what they're into. And then as soon as that trans woman has surgery, or if they have already had surgery and the guy finds out, it's like not interested anymore. In the trans masculine community, there's a lot less of that. It's actually more likely that you'll be completely rejected in certain spheres. Like there's a lot of transphobia within the LGBT plus community.
Really?
There's a lot of cis gay men. I keep saying a lot. There's like a portion of cis gay men who are like absolutely no trans men, you know, not a real man to me kind of attitude. And I do know that casually dating a lot of trans people can come up against a lot of transphobia. But most of the trans people I know are in very happy, loving relationships or very successfully dating. It's like a big message I want to push, that like it doesn't make you unlovable.
With the young people you're talking to, what is their relationship with each other within the same sex?
Oh, it's such an interesting question. I think for young people, I was having a conversation about this earlier this week with the boys about the fact that girls' friendships are so different to boys' friendships. And I think one of the big things that they picked up on was this idea that they always frame it as though girls are in the wrong, right? I think that's an important thing to clarify at the start of the conversation.
Boys do.
Yeah, which is really interesting, right? Because my perception of it as an adult man is that women have much deeper and richer friendships that have been cultivated over years of deep conversation and exploration with each other. But the boys were saying that girls, they don't trust the validity of girls' relationships because they think that girls are more catty, they talk about each other behind their backs and all that kind of stuff. And that boys will just say it as it is. But then when we started unpacking it a little bit, actually what we found was that for loads of the boys, when they feel upset, when they feel hurt, when they feel embarrassed, when they feel like they've got a problem with another person, the social script of masculinity reinforces this idea that they're just not meant to say anything about it. They just have to get over it. It's banter. Don't get upset. You can't be vulnerable. You can't be emotional. You need to man up, grow some balls, all of those kinds of ideas. And so actually maybe that script limits how close we can be, because even in teenage girls you see that dynamic of like, if I'm upset, I'm going to tell you I'm upset. We're going to hash it out. We're going to work through it. And I think maybe that's something that boys develop much later in life as adult men, when you learn that like all friendships are not disposable, and if you've got problems you have to work through them. You're also responsible for changing the dynamics and all that kind of stuff. So, and I also find that for boys, when we're having these conversations, and interestingly in a conversation about penises, right, like that, one of the relationships that we neglect the most is the relationship with ourselves, or even seeing that as a relationship, right? Like, so your inner world and your inner workings and like figuring out who you are and how you think and why you feel what you feel. We don't really ever have conversations about that kind of stuff. Also, just wanted to show you that I've been banging this out and I've whipped up another one.
That is really good though.
I know, right? I feel like it looks like Alien versus Predator.
I was going to say, it's giving me Alien vibes.
Yeah.
You know those fossils you see?
Yeah.
But you've done it in sort of basically unicorn fart colours.
Yeah. What about for you, Jamie, as somebody who was socialised as a girl? Do you think that has an impact on like the way you formed friendships over the years with men, or the way you formed friendships over the years with women?
So when I was growing up as a kid, like pre-secondary school, I was only friends with boys. I like play football, and like I remember the teacher had like a map of the school playground, and she gave everybody a coloured dot. I got a pink one. All the boys got blue ones, and I was like, excuse me. And
there's been a mistake here.
Yeah, I had to keep my pink one, and it was just like my pink dot in a sea of blue, and then little pink cliques of dots in the playground. And like I saw the teacher years later, and she brought the map out, and she was like, I still remember how unusual it was for your dot to be there. And I was like, oh,
thanks, miss.
So up until I went to secondary school, I was only friends with boys, and like I was kind of accepted as part of that in-group, because like I behaved like them, I did what they wanted to do, I had the same interests. Then I went to secondary school, and all the girls bullied me because I was too masculine, and all the boys didn't want to be friends with me because it was at that age where they're like, ew, girls, no, we need to stay away from you. So I was just like a total loner, because no one wanted to be friends with me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm over it.
No, I get that, but I'm sorry for your young you, right? For like young you, that must have been really distressing.
It wasn't the most fun thing. And then my second year of secondary school, I went to an all-girls school, which was very interesting.
Very intense.
Because, I had no option to be friends with the kind of people that I was used to being friends with. And it was just like having to like fit in. But yeah, I did struggle with making friends because I wasn't seen as part of either group. I wasn't accepted as either. Yeah.
And with your partner, because you met your partner when you were 17, I'd be fascinated to think about how she finds relationship with you compared to her girlfriends.
It's very interesting because that's how we started off. We started off as like girlfriends. We were best friends for like a year before I came out, and it was like the first time in my life I had friends who were girls, because that was mostly our friendship group. And then I came out as trans, and suddenly I was like the only guy in the group, and it changed the dynamics of the friendships, because there was an expectation from other people of like having a different type of friendship with the people that I was already friends with. And I was like, this feels really weird.
Because I feel really lucky as a gay man, because I get to have really in-depth, challenging conversations with some of my best friends who are women. And I almost certainly will never be able to have those conversations with my best friends who are men. I mean, I try, because I love having that deep conversation about how you're feeling, about whether it's something that's nurturing, nourishing, the different challenges that go on in people's lives. I love all that stuff. And they're just like, can we just watch the football? And I'm like, no. I want to drink my cocktail and talk about feelings.
Let's explore self.
And they just don't want that.
I mean, I'm up for that. But that's because I was not brought up with any kind of expectation on like, you can't talk about your feelings because you're a boy. You can't do this because you're a boy. There was no kind of like limiting my expression or having to fit into this box of like, no, we don't talk about our feelings. We just do these kind of activities. And so like, I do talk to my friends, and but I have cis guy friends now who are a lot more open with their feelings, and it's, oh no. And
I've literally, I mean, this is just like an accordion now. This is a disaster.
It's definitely I think, Ben, you were mentioning about like adult men do have a shift, or you know, a lot of adult men have this shift in like perception of masculinity and friendships as they grow older, and it can become a bit more open. And I've definitely found that, like, as an adult, people are a lot more open to just be friends with the people they like and to talk to them, rather than just like, no, I can't be friends with you because of this reason.
Because you are X or Y or Z, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you guys think is a healthy relationship with masculinity?
Just
We're all thinking.
Yeah, everyone's like,
Nothing.
It would be lovely if there was a lack of shame about being emotional. And I know women often get labelled as being emotional, but the men I've met are far more emotional in terms of not being able to access their emotions or not being able to control their emotions.
Right.
They're way more unharnessed and unhinged sometimes with their emotions because they're never allowed to actually explore them. So for me, masculinity would be just more fun and more playful if it was allowed to be that. Because, you know, there's stuff like, you know, men die 10 years earlier than women do.
Yeah.
There's a, you know, by 2030 it's going to be a 10-year age gap. A fifth of men die before they retire. So, you know, there's a huge problem with lots of different things. You know, part of it's genetics and part of it's the work that they might do, and part of it's the way that actually the lack of relationships leads to social isolation, and they can't behave in a way that allows them to process their stress and their rage and whatever's going on. And it just makes me deeply sad for men, but also really hopeful, because like we're having this conversation and we're all very different people. And actually, if you're having the conversations that I imagine you're having, which sound hilarious with colossal penis written up on the board and things like that, I mean, that makes me really hopeful for the future, right?
Yeah.
That actually we will have men that can talk about their experience of being men and how to be with, you know, whoever they want to be with without shame, and enjoy their bodies without shame, and masturbate without shame if that's what they want to do, you know, rather than being so culturally or religiously, socially limited in what we can do now.
Yeah, do you know what? I so strongly agree with that. And for me, what I've learned in the years of having these conversations is that actually the thing that's landed us in this position as men in the first place is like the idea that there is a right way and a wrong way to be a man. Do you know what I mean? There's a right way and a wrong way to do masculinity. So whether that's like stereotypes that are positive or negative ones, right? Whether that's like leadership or domination or protecting and providing or being rich and being powerful and having more than other people. I think any kind of construct that tells somebody who is a human who they are supposed to be is probably gonna cause harm at some point. So I think for me, the big thing for like what positive masculinity looks like is a type of masculinity that is defined by the person who owns it and takes into account like harm that can be caused to other people. Not even necessarily just harm, but like the impact that you have as you move through the world. I think that that's really important, that whatever kind of expression you have in the world, you're taking into account what impact that has on the people around you. And as long as that impact is positive, I think really people should just be able to do what they want and call it what they want. Do you know what I mean? Like, so masculinity would probably look really different for all three of us, but also can look really different for whoever feels like they identify as masculine.
I completely agree. I think masculinity isn't just this one size fits all, like this is what it is. And I think it's something that people would be a lot more open about when we realise that things like masculinity, femininity, they are separate from our identity and who we are. They can make up parts of it and what we like and things like that. But you can still be a man and not be this epitome of masculinity or even be masculine at all. And I think it's separating that belief that if you're not masculine, then you're not really a man. It is based on a lot of fear of like, no, I need to be manly, I need to be masculine, I need to prove myself. I think removing that kind of stigma and expectation would do a lot.
Strongly agree.
Gentlemen, should we show Hannah our penises? I'm going to get fired. I'm just going to get fired.
This is amazing. Look at your handiwork. Oh my God. This one, this one, this one. Oh, is this your broken one? But it's great. I love it.
Do you know what? She had to think and just look at the disasters I've made and go, you've done a really shit job.
There was a pause there.
This felt like my teacher in art class. I felt very judged.
I love the blue vein.
Yeah, I'm not very
Oh my
imaginative
God.
when it
Like
comes
an
to
A for
this.
effort.
I love the
I
blue
can do
vein.
clothing. If you want me to sew something,
Ooh,
I'll be on Drag Race.
this is so fun. Thank you so much. I feel like I learned a lot listening and also had to stifle back lots of lots of laughter. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you all for being part of this video. It's been so much fun. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of the different topics they spoke about in the comments below. Would love to hear from you. There's going to be some bonus videos over on my Patreon as well. Feral footage of me making these biscuits, and then maybe some like outtakes and bloopers for you guys as well. Thank you guys so much, and thank you for watching. Bye!
Bye.